Let's wake up, chat. Good morning. All right, y'all. Come on in. Take your time. I uh I did this really cool thing today where apparently I never made the scheduled live public. Yeah, I was like, I came into the chat to warn everybody that I was going to be like roughly 5 to 10 minutes late, and then I realized the whole damn thing was unlisted and nobody even knew I was going live today. And I was like, okay, cool. I guess I can just be as late as I want then because I apparently completely forgot to announce this live in totality. But, thanks for showing up, all of you who are here, despite having no idea I was even gonna go live today. Oopsie daisy. At least the one for Thursday is still actually public. I made sure of that, but come on in. Welcome aboard. Get comfortable. And if you're new here, welcome to the Dadvocate live stream. I'm Lauren. This is an audio only friendly live stream where we talk about relationships, dating, parenting, co-parenting, and all kinds of other buffoonery in between. And when I say audio only friendly, what I mean by that is you should be able to minimize this, go walk around at work, take your dogs out, lift weights at the gym, do some laundry without necessarily having to stare at your phone. You know what I mean? We will be reacting to some visual things, but I will do my best to verbally describe them to you so that you can just keep going on about your day, doing what you're doing, enjoying it podcast style if you want. If there is something that I really think you should see, I'll let you know. If you really, really, really want to get my attention during the stream, as you can see, chat is on screen here. I'll read some of the chats, but also what will appear on screen, like here, are Twitch super chats, Facebook stars, and the one thing that I will always make sure to read out loud are YouTube super chats. So if you really, really need me to see something, YouTube super chats are probably the best way, but also don't feel any need to give me any money. You can also just enjoy this entire stream for free. But if you do want more Dadvocate content than is publicly available, I highly, highly recommend joining either my YouTube membership program or my Patreon. With both, you do get early access, exclusive content, and unique stuff that no one else gets. So now that I'm done plugging away, thank you, Phil Jackson, for donating a membership. To Born in the Wrong Universe, please enjoy your early access and exclusive content videos, as well as custom emotes that only you can use during stream. So anyway, let's just get right into it. Today, our theme of the stream is co-parents from hell. Okay, and for our first story, how was your guys' Easter? I ask because it's going to be relevant, right? Did you guys have a good Easter? Did you get to see your family? Enjoy looking for some hidden eggs and things like that? I know it's a pretty popular holiday, but I'm sure for many of you as well who are in the co-parenting universe, you may have also had to share your holiday, split it up. Some of you might not have gotten to see your kids this year. Maybe for some of you it was your year, but you're not looking forward to next year. And for some of you, you actually might still be one of the minor kids who is caught between two co-parents and kind of dealing with what that looks like. And we always hope that these kids who have to share their holidays can just come to some kind of amicable, fair arrangement. You know what I mean? Especially if, you are past the age of 18 and there is no more court order. You would kind of hope that at that point, any of the issues or arguments on that front might be all over with. But Unfortunately, that is not the case for one young person who we will be covering today. Thank you, William Illwill, by the way, for the super chat. Aw, thank you, Chef. That was very kind of you, too. This was a post that was made to the subreddit r/mildly infuriating. And it reads, Mother is mad I won't be attending church for Easter. My mother has always been a pain in the ass about me going to church with the family on holidays. The only time she actually goes, which is aggravating in one sense, but it's almost like, well, okay, at least it's not an every Sunday ordeal. But my mom called these types of Catholics creasters because they only go on Christmas and Easter. Anyway, they go on to say, this may stem from me spending part of the time with my dad while I'm home this holiday. They're divorced. I'm in my first year of college and she owns the place I'm living in, and it feels like she's trying to hold it over my head. I'm so effing tired of living with this because it happens way too often, but I do not have the funds to get away from it. It sucks because I really thought me and my mom were finally finding common ground, though, through therapy, and have been pretty good with each. She came to stay with me. Also, Charlie is my cat. No, I don't normally dress him. It was more of a joke from this past week. So let's read this conversation. Love the image we've selected for mother here. Mom says, church starts at 11, probably leave here by 10:20 because of traffic. Child says, I'm going to, this is supposed to say lunch with dad at 11, but I'll be over after. Mom says, what? Going where? They say, blank has an Easter lunch tomorrow morning. Mom says, well, we have church, which is why we are celebrating, and I expect you there. The child, now adult, says, I'll be over after. Wish I had time to get Charlie a bunny costume. Kind of keeping it lighthearted still. Like, I don't think that they thought at all that this would blow up into anywhere near as much as it does. But mom goes, no, you asked me weeks ago if I expected you to be there at church, and I told you yes. They say, I'll watch it online while I'm at lunch then, because they stream. How about that? I just know that one's going to piss off mom. But true, there are a lot of churches now that completely stream their church. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about that, by the way. If you do think that like staying at home and watching church on YouTube is an acceptable method of it, if you think that God would approve. I am curious about your thoughts on that. Mom replies, this will create consequences for you. We talked about this several weeks ago, and there is no reason why you should have changed your plans and not let me know ahead of time. It's disrespectful. So this is how it's going to be, and you want to do your own thing, then that's what will happen. Then you will have your own thing, and we won't be home after church. We have plans. Kid says, what? I didn't even know when y'all were going, so I'm not going to be able to spend time with the family now, really? What a switch up. The intellectual consistency is not intellectually consistencing, because they're like, the reason for the season is church, which, like, okay, fair enough. Easter is a religious holiday. We celebrate the day that Jesus rose from the dead. Jesus is risen. It should be more about Jesus than bunnies and eggs and chocolate, if that's what you believe in. I can see that. But then we go, it's about Jesus. So if you don't want to do Jesus, you're cut out from the family. And it's like, do you remember who Jesus was? Do you know who you're celebrating? Do you remember why he rose? Do you remember why that happened biblically? Just wondering, while we're playing these games of spite here, Windows really wants your attention. Are you guys hearing that? Oh my god, yeah, someone tell me how I turn off the notification sound. I apologize. Everyone said yes. Oh God, I'm so sorry. I do not know why it's doing that. I'll have to fix that maybe during break. It was driving me nuts. I thought it was coming from me somehow. My dang computer ruining my stream. What version of Windows do you use? I don't know. I probably should know this. Let me see here. Where's the notifications area? System. I don't even know. I'll worry about this later. All right, if it happens one more time, let me know and I'll start doing troubleshooting. Okay. Damn, I'm so sorry, everybody. Hold on, let me see if I can do this really quick. Notifications and actions. Notifications off. There we go. Okay, that should fix it. Sorry. Sorry, guys. Okay, anyway. So mom says, it's the same time we go every year. Nothing has changed, and you knew that. I think a lot of you probably can relate to this. Jay Lang, thank you for the super chat. Says, had to pull over just to send a nonsense message. Yay, I'm interrupting your driving. Aw, Chef, you're being so kind to me right now. That is worth more than a super chat. Thank you. Okay, anyway. Kid gets a little sassy and says, you think I remember what time we go with a skull face? Which might be fair, might be fair. I will say, if my usually that's like a swing and a miss, you know what I mean? If it is pretty consistent every single year, then I don't know if there's necessarily a reason to get super sassy. But if you really want someone to go to church, you should definitely remind them of the time and place for sure. Mom says, then blame yourself. Yeah, I guess mom's not accountable at all for this religious crash out. Kid says, so I'm not allowed to come over and hang out with y'all then? If not, I'll just go back to blanks, which it might be dad's house. Mom says, we won't be home. Mom is really like, come and find us. Treat me like an Easter egg, because I'm hiding. Kid says, where are y'all going? Mom says, we are all going to eat. Kid says, I'd still like to be with the family. Are y'all going back to your house after that? I was going to bring Charlie over because blank wanted to see him. Mom says, blank won't be here till tomorrow. Still being very short, very angry. Oh, we censored the name the first time, but there it is. It's okay. No one knows who Bella is. It's fine. Says, I know. Mom says, I meant Monday. Kid says, oh, that sucks. I can meet y'all for lunch then. I just probably won't eat anything. Or I can meet y'all after. Where are y'all going? Mom says, you need to go to church. That's what Easter is about. Going to brunch is not. Good night. I'm tired, and you know better. Okay, is this holiday about church? Or is it about not seeing your good-for-nothing dad? Kid says, question mark, question mark, question mark. If you don't want me there after, I guess I'll just go back to Ruston then. Happy Easter. Mom says, I'm not paying for you to go eat with us and you not even eat. You pay at this place by the number of people. I'll call and cancel you in the morning. You should have had enough respect for this family to let us know if you aren't going. We go to church every year. You know this. We even discussed it weeks ago when you asked if I expected you to go to church, and I said yes. So you want to be an adult and disregard our wishes? Then get off my paycheck and go be one. I won't expect anything. Or better yet, get your dad to start helping out. You need to discuss helping out with rent or him or get you a job. Oh wow, the Easter crash out is in full force. She said, oh, I don't really want to go to church this year, and the mom fully went, okay, then get off my paycheck, get out of my house, start paying for yourself, and I'm not doing anything for you anymore. Like, Cool, cool. Right on. That's exactly what Jesus would have wanted. Everyone in the chat who is like, I don't think this is about the religion. I think this is about control. Think you guys might be on to something there. Kid says, I didn't even know y'all were going to the place. How was I supposed to know that? I can meet y'all after, though. I literally said I did not want to go. Mom says, I wasn't giving you an option. So now you will have consequences, but I'm too tired to discuss them tonight. You need to get a job or get your dad to start helping. Either one is fine with me. Good night. Man, that is a wild one, truly. That I don't know if OP is male, female, non-binary or what. Like I do not know what's going on with this person, but I do know that all parental support that they had going for them from their mom has just been ripped out from under the rug, all because they did not want to go to church one of the 2 days a year that this allegedly good Christian woman actually went. Cameron says, doesn't seem to have anything to do with church. Yeah, I think it's a little bit of everything because I've noticed that with a lot of these like Creaster types who really only go to mass during like the most social times of the year, it's really less about the reason for the season, the religious accolades that you're offering, your relationship with God. And for a lot of these people, it's all about the social clout. It's all about how they are perceived by the greater community. And to this woman, it seems as though she is taking it as a major slight and an ego bruise that her child, that she proudly fought for all this custody for, it sounds like this divorce might have been pretty messy, and that she takes full glee in getting to demonstrate ownership of the child publicly. It feels like she is now really pissed that she doesn't get to keep showing that off, and worse, that she's now choosing to spend what is supposed to be her holiday with the dad. This is what gets really crazy is there are a lot of people, and like especially in our situation, because I'm a stepmom, my husband co-parents with his son, and next year is going to be our very last year of having to abide by a custodial arrangement. And I've had so many people saying stuff to me like, oh my gosh, one more year and then you're completely off the hook. You only have to deal with this for one more year. But real ones know the truth that it doesn't necessarily just magically end at 18. And this is a perfect example of that. Like, this is something that I could actually see happening with my stepson in one of these cases is if it is implied strongly that he is to be spending this holiday doing whatever, and if he dares choose the other side, then the guilt trip of the century will be burdened upon his back. And I know this because I have seen this go down with so many other adult children of divorce. I'm very curious to hear from some of my audience in the comment section if you guys have had to deal with things like this. Yeah, Jay Lang, thank you for another super chat. Says, Mom seems to be the look how religious I am type. And Omega says she's definitely a fake Christian. Oh, man. And that's another popular one too that I've seen from adult children of divorce is the whole, oh yeah, you like spending time with your dad so much? Then have your dad take care of you. I'm done. I've seen that one so many times too. It's definitely like toxic divorcee mom bingo card, quite frankly. We gotta read some of these comments. Follow her advice, get a job, and become fully independent from this BS. I will say though, this is not me justifying the mom's actions, but sometimes that can be a really good motivator to actually get you in the right direction. Like, bless my mom's heart, I love her, but she was one of these types of moms. Like, if I didn't want to go to church, I was punished. If I wanted to stay out later than 10 p.m. as a grown adult, she was like, you might as well just not even come home. Like, my life was made so difficult living with my mom that I immediately moved out at 18. Like, instantaneously. It was like, and it's my birthday, goodbye, I'm out of here. And what's crazy is she literally admitted to me later on in life that she did that on purpose to get me to move out. Like, she purposefully made my life difficult to get me to move out. But you know what, though? She got her karma, because my sibling made her life difficult and didn't move out till they were like 30 something. So, joke's on you. The karma was loud on that one. What are some of these other comments? I wasn't giving you an option. Also claims you're an adult, meaning that you have the final say on what you do. Not when you live in their house though. Oh my god, yeah. I will say there's like few things in the world more toxic than knowing you have to go home to a place that is not really your home. You know what I mean? A place where you are not actually respected and that it is fully expected that you fall in line or you will be threatened and made very uncomfortable. Man, this is where a lot of hyper independence complex comes from later in life. Rusty Shackelford, thank you for the two, says, if you think she's a bad Christian, Luke 14:25 through 37. Okay, let's look up some Bible passages here. In Luke 14:25 through 27, Jesus emphasizes the cost of discipleship. He states that anyone who comes to him and does not prioritize him above their family and even their own life cannot be his disciple. Additionally, those who do not willingly carry their own cross and follow him are also not true disciples. Are you saying that like most of us are bad Christians? Like most Christians are bad Christians? Is that what that's supposed to mean? Cause I will say that's a lot. All right. Darren says that does not apply here. I know, I'm trying to figure out where we were going with that one, but you know. And then I think I'll read one more. Yeah, one more comment. That's funny. The other one is, how very Christian of her. All right, here's another anecdotal story. My parents always forced me to go to church as a kid. Every Sunday, though, not just holidays. Same, big same. I actually, since I went to private school, I actually had to go to church twice a week. Once on Thursdays, and then again on Sundays. And then if there ever was a holiday, who knows? It might be 3 times that week. So yeah, I feel like I've churched enough, quite frankly. Anyway, if we didn't go to church, we didn't get to play outside, which sucked. Probably for my parents too, now that I think about it. Long story short, I haven't been to church in 15 years, and before that it had been a while too. Forcing your kids to do something never works. Yeah, that is really interesting, actually. Like, I was really raised with religion kind of like hammer fisted down my throat. And so by the time I was 16, I was like really desperately trying to pull away. I still remember the conversation I had with my mom for the first time when I was like, Mom, I'm not really getting anything out of church. Is it okay if I don't go? And I even offered, I was like, I'll even spend an hour doing like community service or volunteering somewhere else, or even like going to a different kind of church so I can see what else is out there. But like, I keep trying and I'm not getting anything out of this. And I still remember my mom standing in the doorframe of my bedroom and crying and going, I'm just so sad that you won't be with us when the final salvation comes. I was like, holy shit. That got dark quick. What's crazy is like now my mom doesn't even like practice. And what's really crazy, my mom said to me recently, she was like, you know, I never even really believed any of that religious stuff. And I'm like, let it go. Let it go, Lauren. It ain't worth it. You don't live with this lady no more. Reggie Shackelford said, no, she's a good Christian, but a bad mom. Okay, that clears things up. Dylan says, so you told your mom you hate her. Damn, Lauren, that's cold. Yeah, but I mean, like, it was like, honestly, the exact same thing as like, that would really hurt their feelings if they could read. You know what I mean? Like, that would have really hurt my feelings if I shared the same religious views as you. But unfortunately, it was like, you know, in Pokemon, like, this move does not affect foe lore. Then why does she cry and say wacky stuff? Manipulation. to try and get me to do what she wanted to, I guess. It was a wild time, man. Anyway, I will have to say, I don't think that this would have gotten as bad if it weren't for the divorce. I feel like if the kid was like, I don't really want to go to church, they probably would have still gotten some shit. But I think the I don't want to go to church so that I can spend time with your ex-husband instead was like the so you're hurting me on purpose. So you want to hurt me? Okay, then I'll hurt you. Like that's the way I'm interpreting this is unfortunately with a lot of co-parenting situations, you don't have to be a child to continue being used as a pawn to try and get back at the other parent, you know? That whole it ends at 18 is tragically a myth. Now, I've got another some more co-parenting goofballery for you. This one made I started watching this one and then I had to stop because I was like, I have to watch this with the gang. I can't just watch this alone. It's too good. This is one of those Zoom family courts, right? Deadbeat mom gets painfully stupid when judge orders her to pay dad child support. Peter Edwards, thank you for the generous 20, says, y'all are bad Christians for not liking the live stream. Actually, that is a really good point. If you don't like the live stream, you will burn through every single layer of hell. It's true. I read that in the Bible, actually.
I moved out due to a physical altercation where he was holding my daughter in his hands, and he physically altercated me. He did leave me with a $400 bill. And
you remember that one body cam we watched where the guy was like, you can't probable cause me. You can't probable cause me. I think that he might be like her cousin or something because did y'all just hear that? She said, I moved out because he physically altercated me. Oh, okay.
in my name at the other house that I paid off all by myself. I don't see why I need to pay him radioactive child support respectfully.
Now, I don't like to be the grammar police. Okay, I understand that, you know, sometimes English isn't our first language, sometimes typos happen, but to follow up, he physically altercated me immediately with, I don't want to pay radioactive child support. Is that the kind of child support you pay in Ukraine? So the word she was looking for was definitely retroactive child support. This is a type of child support that can be ordered as basically like looking back. So this typically happens when, for example, parents they have a baby together and maybe one of them is like a deadbeat. They just run off and abandon the child, or maybe they didn't even know the child was born. And so they're not able to get a child support order right away because maybe they can't find them. Maybe they're evading the law. Who knows? But by the time they finally catch up, what the courts can do is they can order retroactive child support and they can say, okay, well, since you weren't here for the last 3 years, you owe 3 years of child support. That's typically what it is. Now, this can also become like a very corrupt system because one way that I've seen people use retroactive child support is when they have an off paper agreement and the dad is just like, yeah, I'll just throw you some cash here and there. And then it's not on record or anything. Or if he doesn't do a good job, like saving all of those pay stubs or proving that it's actually for an agreement of child support between the two of them, then what some people can do is go to the courts and say, yeah, my kid is 5 and he's never paid me a single dime, so I want retroactive child support. And if he can't prove that he's been giving her money specifically for child support, because what sometimes they'll do is they'll go, oh, well, he gave me money, but it was a gift. It wasn't for child support. And the judges will go, I agree, and then rule retroactive child support. So it can be some BS. But I don't think that she's familiar with the concept at all because
Is Mikkel Schaefer? Are you?
okay, on screen it reads context. Dad is the custodial parent and lives in Oklahoma. Mom lives in Texas. The attorney general brought a child support case because the child is on Medicaid, but mom doesn't think she should have to pay. So again, if for those of you unfamiliar with family court, even if both parents are avoiding bringing things through the court, they're not trying to necessarily go after child support. As soon as one of the parents who has the child applies for any kind of state assistance, including Medicaid, the other parent has to cooperate with the child support system. This is like one of the only state assistance programs where they do force one specific individual to cover the state's portion of it. They basically just want to be paid back for the state assistance is what's going on here. So because the child went on Medicaid, they're going to come after the non-custodial parent for some of the bills, which tends to happen. And I'm sorry, but like whenever there's any case of two co-parents who don't live in the same state, what usually happens is that the non-custodial parent is just not seeing that kid as often. So it would make sense that they might have to, you know, make up for the time that they're not spent parenting the child with money. Dads are certainly used to this concept, but now that she's the one being held to this responsibility, she's just kind of like, whoa, 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 whoa. I know that I am not living with my kids or actively parenting them day to day, but I think you're forgetting that I have a vagina. So what do you mean I have to pay money? That's silly.
Ready to proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, wait. June says, and radioactive child support.
Also present is Assistant Attorney General Whitney Kuntz. Are you ready to proceed?
Ready, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ma'am, what is your full name?
Mikkel Angelica Schaefer.
And what is the full name of your child on the case?
Kamar.
Who is Kamari's father?
Stefan Maurice Bates.
I thought she said Kamala Harris for a second. Anybody else? Was anybody else like, your child's name is Kamala Harris?
And does Kamari currently live with Mr. Bates?
Yes.
And when did Kamari start living with Mr. Bates?
I say roughly around like September of last year, October.
Okay. Where were you employed in January of 2023?
Eagle Flats Village.
And how much did you earn when you worked at Eagle Flats?
14 hourly.
And how many hours did you work per week?
In January, I was working different hours.
Okay.
So between like anywhere between like 34 and 38, it really just fluctuated.
When did you stop working for Eagle Flat?
Just a few days ago, the 9th, I believe.
Okay.
Oh, that's convenient. Just a few days before your child support hearing, you magically lose your job. Where have I heard of that one before? Where have we seen this one?
And over the time from January of 2023 up until you stopped working there last week, do you know what you would average per week in terms of the number of hours you worked?
She's counting on her fingers. Carry the one.
About 35.
Okay. Do you have any other minor children besides the child on this case?
No, ma'am.
And where are you currently employed?
Nowhere.
Do you what happened with your job with Eagle Flat?
I was asked to do something that I was not comfortable with. I refused. There were disagreements and what's the word? Differences, and she ended up letting me go, my boss.
Okay. And are you seeking unemployment benefits?
Yes, and seeking employment as well.
Exactly, KJL. The word you're looking for is fired. She's like, I was asked to do something that I didn't want to do that was directly part of my job description. So there was a disagreement that resulted in me no longer having a job anymore. So you were fired because you didn't want to work at the place that you're supposed to be working at. Got it. So I at least it's not a situation of her like quitting right before the case. At least it was just conveniently fired on time, I guess.
Okay. Do you have any interviews lined up?
No, ma'am. I have been calling the state hospital because they're about to have some spots open up. But I've really just been following up on the applications that I've put in the past couple of days over this weekend. Since I've been let go, I've put in a handful, and I will be following up with them probably tomorrow or whenever I'm off of the phone.
Sure, Jan.
Okay. I pass the witness.
Okay.
You know, someone in the comments also had a little conspiracy theory saying, here it is. James said, so she quit because she was about to pay, but had her boss sign off on the idea. That's definitely one conspiracy. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I'm sure the boss would rather have had an employee that wanted to do their job than help a deadbeat mom get out of paying child support, but who knows? Some of these people have all kinds of ways of making themselves look like the victims here. And then Chaos Shadow, thank you so much for the super chat. That actually is a really good ES4 Oblivion might be a good gaming stream idea, actually. But yeah, it's and yeah, we are almost to 500k subs. So if you are somehow watching this and not subscribed, please do. We are really close to that. Sweet, sweet half milli. But yeah, if she is trying to get out of paying child support, it could just be a freak accident coincidence that she got canned from her job right before her very first child support hearing. But if she is trying to get out of it, there is something called imputing income. They can take your potential income or at least even put it in at minimum wage, you know what I mean, to at least get something.
Ms. Schaefer, do you have any other testimony that you would like to share?
I do, yes.
Okay, what is that?
There was a statement where when I first got served the child support papers, there was an option to dispute it. And I did write it. It's about 14 pages that I handwritten. I got it turned. I went to go turn it in a day after. And I didn't realize.
I'm sorry. I know that English is not everyone's strong suit, but I cannot deal with he physically altercated me. I don't want to pay radioactive child support, and I handwrit this. Did you know?
That it was the day after that I could turn it in. So it's just basically my disputing statement from prior that I did not get to turn in.
Okay, so can you hit the high points of what you're disputing? And it needs to be narrowly focused to whether this is about you paying child support, medical support, and back support going back to January of this year. So those three subjects, what are you disputing as to why you should not have to pay any of those things?
There are a number of reasons, but he has not had a single job since we split up. I believe that he is not reporting all income in the household on his like TANF and food stamps and stuff.
Okay, and just to give you, for Texas, we only count your income, the person that doesn't have possession of the child.
Correct. So yeah, like that's the thing is, isn't this crazy when the genders are reversed, how offended women suddenly get when a man doesn't have a job while retaining custody of the children? Like, are we starting to see how frustrating it is when the person who has the kids refuses to get a job? Like, it's amazing how it's suddenly now we're able to recognize, like, man, it sure can be frustrating, but at the same time, like, whatever she's on about, like, well, he needs to report the entirety of the household income. I don't know where he's living, if he's like living with his parents or if he's living with like a girlfriend or a new wife or something, but yeah, everyone else did not make the baby, so everyone else's income is not going to play a factor here, quite frankly, you know? And it's like, if he has the kids full time, then this is the crazy thing too, is like, it's actually not a requirement to get custody of your kids that you have to have a job. You just have to have a stable environment. So if he's able to maintain a stable environment while not having a job, unfortunately, that is legal. And I agree that it's frustrating. It's always frustrating when either parent refuses to work, but I don't know his situation, and I don't think this is going to hold up.
Their income doesn't factor into what we do to calculate support.
Well,
oh wow, that's interesting. So I didn't even know that. I don't know if anybody else from Texas can weigh in on that and how that works. Texas child support seems to operate completely differently from everyone else too, because typically, at least here in Michigan and in most states, the child support formula goes, we take how much dad earns, we take how much mom earns, and we put it into a formula that showcases how many overnights each of them has, and then that will poop out a number, right? But what makes Texas so much more different than other states is, apparently I'm learning, they don't take the custodial parent's income into effect at all. They only consider the non-custodial parent's income. And I'm like, I'm curious to see what that formula looks like, because another thing about Texas I know is that they actually have a cap on child support. And that's something that I would like to see incorporated in other states, is that there's a hard cap of like, even if the non-custodial parent is making millions and millions a year, it will cap out. Like you're not just going to get $15,000 a month for your kid just because you happened to make a baby with a rich person. Like, it doesn't work that way. I would like to see more states start incorporating a cap that is based around the average cost of living in the area. That's more of what I would like to see. Like, you guys might know this actually. Elon Musk is obviously one of the richest billionaires, multi-billionaires in the world, but I think it's Grimes is the one based out of Texas, one of his many baby mamas, but whichever his baby mama is out of Texas, there is only getting like $3,000 a month from Elon Musk because there's such a hard cap there. Might be 6 grand. Either way, yeah, if they actually took Elon Musk's income the way that every other state would do it, that kid would be getting like $12 million a month or something. I have mixed feelings on that, but that is interesting the way it all works. Oh, wait, let me read what Elizabeth said. Texan child of divorced parents. They divorced when I was younger, and I don't know all the rules, but the court ordered my parents to split everything 50-50. Good. I love that for them.
The income that he is not providing, I believe, is the reason that they are even getting approved for these government funds and the reason I'm having to pay these child support. So I want to dispute it, and pretty much I want 50% custody from him because he's had times where we've had agreements, verbal agreements of when I'm supposed to have her, because my work threw me around a lot. I covered in spots for my boss. People who either quit or got fired, I would cover that spot for a while. So I was going from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
She's doing all sorts of things that dads just simply don't get away with. Okay, now she's trying to argue. I guess she just said that she does want 50% custody, which I know that Texas and Oklahoma are both pretty big states, but how far apart are they from each other? Let's just do like Oklahoma City. Oh, yeah, like at best, we're looking at a 5-hour one-way commute. That's a 10-hour road trip that you're not getting 50-50 that way, honey. I'm sorry. There is not going to be a comfortable way of doing 50-50 from Texas to Oklahoma. But also, like I said, she's doing that dads just do not get away with, right? Like, she's trying to argue, oh, well, I get frustrated because he doesn't just let me see the kids whenever I want to, even though I can't commit to a consistent work or visitation schedule, and I'm constantly like running around on when I will or won't be able to see them. This is actually one of the very first things that I recommend, mostly to dads, but to anyone who is trying to establish a comfortable custody agreement with their co-parent, is you have to come up with a reasonable schedule that can be relied upon, that you can commit to, that you can submit to the court and say, this is what I can follow. Okay, it's what your kid deserves, it's what your co-parent deserves. And I can understand that that's very frustrating because there are some people who have really chaotic work schedules, but that is a really necessary part of establishing proper co-parenting. And to want 50-50 but to not be able to give a consistent, reliable schedule, you're asking the other parent and your child to just be on call for your whims, and it's just genuinely not fair. So you're gonna have an uphill battle trying to get custody that way.
To 8 to 4 to 9 to 5 and just kind of being thrown around in there. So my days off would change. And I would let him know, like, hey, I'm kind of being thrown around, my days are going to change. And there would be a lot of times where he would make plans with like his girlfriend or something, or just girls or his friends. Like on days that I was supposed to have her and there was really no reason that I couldn't still take her, he just was, I mean, like, I don't want to say keeping her from me, but he was
Okay, but you understand that again, this is only to do with current child support, medical support,
yes,
and
ma'am.
retroactive child support, and the visitation is not part of this, what we're doing today.
Yes, I understand that. But I've had a job basically since I had a job my entire pregnancy with him for 7 months, and then he didn't have a job. And then he kept his job for maybe 4 months, and he was let go because he couldn't not be late or he couldn't not show up. And then after that, he never got a job again. And I have been working full time since 2 months after I moved out due to a physical altercation where he was holding my daughter in his hands. And he physically altercated me. I ended up getting all my stuff, moving out the next day. I went back to my mom's house. And then I just got on my feet from there. I went and I got a full-time job at the place she was working at.
This is female privilege right here. I'm so sorry. Men would never get away with this. I watch a ton of family court cases here in Michigan because they're all over Zoom, dude. I've seen our own judge plenty of times. Like, I'm honestly surprised that our own case hasn't been broadcast on one of these channels because I've seen so many other Michigan cases broadcast, and like, they've already established, ma'am, we're not here to talk about the time. You've had plenty of opportunities. Like, you could file for a different time agreement, you could file for a different custody agreement, but we have the time that is typically shared between you and your kids. Now we have to determine how much of the child support that you have to pay as a non-custodial parent, because it is really not heard of that a non-custodial parent who lives states away wouldn't pay anything. You know, that's all we're here to determine. If that was a case for a man in Michigan, they would have told him to shut up like 15 times by now. They would be like, stop yapping, like you're done, stop talking. They wouldn't even give him an opportunity to speak this long. And yet they're all just letting her like yap and yap away and tell this like entire life story. And I guess I'm not gonna lie, I am curious for her to get to the point where she ends up allowing the dad to have full custody, or how he ends up getting full custody. Based on what she's told us too, I will also sympathize with the fact that like, it can definitely suck if you are the only one working through your pregnancy and you've got like the father is just like sitting on his ass at home. That I will completely agree that is incredibly frustrating, because there are plenty of women like myself who don't want to stop working just because they get pregnant. Like, we want the money, we want to keep growing in our career, but for Christ's sake, like, when you're working while pregnant, you're working so hard. You're working so much harder. I don't know how many of you listening have been pregnant, but especially in that first trimester when you can barely stay awake. Like, I was working at a daycare for a little bit during my pregnancy, and I remember one time I was like rocking these two twins to sleep, and I completely fell asleep with them. And thank God for all my coworkers, because they were like, just let her have it. Just let her have it. I fell asleep so many times at work while I was pregnant, and I had a rough pregnancy. I was throwing up constantly. I remember there would be days that I would pull into work, open my door, puke my guts out in front of my boss, and she'd be like, you good? And I'm like, yep, let me just hose this off real quick and then go into work, you know? And like, in that moment, there's really no reason that the man shouldn't be working, right? Like, there's no kid to watch yet. Like, there's no way for him to help when it comes to the child, because she's already doing everything by growing the baby. So I will say this: if you are a man who is becoming a father, you should be working during the pregnancy. Hard line, you should be working during the pregnancy. You should be doing everything that you can to be earning money and saving for that child. You really should be. So listen, I'm gonna hold this guy accountable here. If it's true that he was like just letting himself go at work, showing up late, being lazy, getting fired, or quitting, or just like not putting his best effort forward to be working, then shame on him. Yeah, that's a really frustrating thing. Absolutely. Now, once the baby is born, if he can't find work, if he's struggling, but he takes up doing the primary amount of parenting, that should be enough to offset it, right? By our own logic, we all say, like, all of these women are saying, you know, being a stay-at-home parent is just as hard, if not harder, than working outside of the home. If that's true, then him being the primary parent at home should be enough to supplement, right? If we're being logically consistent. But prior to that baby being born, you should be working, bud. You should be working, quite frankly.
Was a position open, and she didn't get me the job or anything. Like, I went and got my own job, and I had been working there ever since until last week when me and my boss had the differences, and she ended up letting me go.
What did you do at that job? What was your function?
I was a resident aide and assistant, and I was also housekeeping for a while. So a resident assistant, basically, let's see, I have a list of objectives.
Okay, but I mean, you don't have to go just big picture. Let's stay big picture. So how are you supporting yourself right now?
I just applied for unemployment the day I got released, and I've been applying to jobs every day since I have got released, but currently
I do love her rhetoric game. Like, for not knowing that many words or the correct words, like, she knows how to play things off and minimize. Like, she refuses to say, like, ever since I got fired. She's like, ever since I was relieved of duty. Ever since I was honorably dismissed.
not supporting myself at all, because when I was making my money, I was making too much to get approved for food stamps or anything like that. The only thing that I do have is Texas Healthy Women's, and I haven't used it.
Everything she says, every other word. Texas Helping Women's. Listen, I'm part of the Texas Helping Women's program. They help women's not pay radioactive child support after they've been physically altercated. It's a great program.
Since I've had it.
Over the last 11 months when you were employed, did you send money to Mr. Bates to help support your child?
Yes.
How much did you send?
I wouldn't be able to recall that, but I do have money from recently. I know I've sent at least 100 in the past couple of months for, because I don't have a car. So they'll bring her to me, and then I'll pay them to come pick her up.
Yeah. So she goes and says, I don't know exactly how much I've sent, but I've at least spent $100 over the last few months to pay them for driving all the way here to Texas from Oklahoma to bring the child to me. Ma'am, $100 is not even going to cover one way there. Okay, that's not even one way in gas, much less appropriate child support to cover months of time that you're not actively parenting. Are you kidding me? $100 over months of not seeing your kid, and you're offering that in exchange for them driving all the way 5 hours down to let you see your kid, and then 5 hours back, and you think that that's enough to cover it all? Just cover every single aspect of parenting? That's crazy work, dude.
But before it was sent increments of, I know there was a time I sent $75 to him because he asked for it. But there was also times where I would offer money and he would tell me he didn't want my money, and he didn't want me to send him money even if I offered it. That's also part of the reason that I'm wanting to dispute this, because there was so many times that I have my mom witness for, and so many people. That's besides the point. But
okay, I would need evidence for this. And yeah, if she did mean $100 for every trip they brought him down, I mean that would be one thing, but that still wouldn't be enough. That still wouldn't be enough. Typically, if one person is doing all the transporting in a multi-state custody arrangement, then whoever is receiving and not doing the majority of travel typically has to compensate them for travel on top of child support, like in addition to. She's saying she paid $100 once over months, and that she also like sent $75 one time, I guess. Which again, that's still nothing in the grand scheme of things. But now she's claiming, well, I didn't send any money because he didn't want me to. I would need to see some hard evidence for that. Okay, I would definitely need to see some hard evidence, because so far all she said is, well, my mom's a witness to that, but that's besides the point. And then like really, really quickly tries to change the subject before anybody maybe like brings up subpoenaing her into the courtroom to testify or anything like that. But also, when it comes to family court cases, especially child support, where these judges are hungry for their percent, they want a taste of that child support, okay? These judges do not F around when it comes to child support, because every court gets a certain percentage of every dollar collected because of Title 4D, okay? They do not mess around. They do not cut corners. And so even if a custodial parent comes in and says, I don't want the other parent to be on child support, they typically completely disregard their opinion, especially if they are on government assistance. If you're on government assistance, you don't get a choice. They have to be part of child support. The government just mandates it. Even if no one wants to be part of it, you have to be now. So I will say, even if she can prove that he was like, no, please don't send any money for the kids, which like, X to doubt, even if she proves that, she's still going to have to pay child support.
he wouldn't take my money even when I did offer it to him half of the time. And then he will come back and say that I didn't do any of this, or that I didn't try, or that I don't see my daughter even though he doesn't work. So I have to have her on my days off because I can't take her up to work. It's not an option for me. I'm about to go enroll her in daycare and see that she can get approved for that for low income, because I just have to provide like diapers, wipes, and I think food for her, which I have all of means necessary to provide for her. I have everything here that I need for her. Everything that I do have here I got on my own, but also me and him had a lot of stuff conjoined together for Kamari.
You guys were really right about the inability to stay consistent. Everything I did by myself, except for the stuff that other people helped me with. Yeah. Cameron, thank you for the super chat. Says, I still can't get over her saying, I got my own job, as if that was some next level adulting. Man, I will say that is one of my biggest pet peeves, is when adults brag about baseline adult stuff. Like, I cannot tell you the amount of times that I have heard like 40-year-old and up people go, well, I'm working hard. I'm working 40-hour weeks. And I'm just like, yeah. What? Aren't we all at this age? Like, aren't we all supposed to be kind of doing that? Like, what, do you want a cookie? What? What? Okay. And when I was in my 20s, I was working 90 hours a week, and no one has erected a statue of me in Town Square. But after my last series of shorts, maybe I don't want a statue of me. If you don't know, go watch that video.
That he took with him and I never saw, like clothes, bottles, etc. Everything that I needed for her, I had to go out and buy on my own because he wouldn't even split them in half with me. I asked him because we had clothes all the way up to 24 months. When she was only about 6 months old, that I asked him if, we could go through, he could split them with me because they were ours, and he never did. I mean, there's a list of things.
Yeah, we're getting beyond the scope again of what we're talking about. So
Okay, again, I guess I really do want to know how he ended up with full custody, because I will sympathize with her a little bit if they both together got things for the child, and he went ahead and took all of them, took all of the clothes, took all of the toys, all of the pillows and blankets, and absolutely refused to split them up in any way with her. That's really frustrating. At the same time, if he has primary custody, majorative care of the child, I can't hold it too much against him. He is just trying to do best by the child.
last 11 months, current child support, current medical support, and where the child lives. That's what I'm looking at. Ms. Kuntz, do you have any further testimony?
Miss Schaefer, you mentioned a physical altercation. Do you have any concerns with your address and other identifying information being in the court order?
My address?
Yes, ma'am.
No, ma'am. It did not happen at my address.
Okay, and you don't believe that having it in there would pose a risk of any type of harm or harassment to you?
No.
Okay.
It was when I was living with him at a whole different address that neither of us live at anymore.
Okay. And I know we talked about this, but I don't think I asked you previously. Do you have access to any health or dental insurance?
So the commentary, the person who assembled this video puts up top, I almost feel like she's intentionally missing the point here. Anyone else getting that vibe? Yeah, but at the same time, I also have to blame the judge a little bit. She has no control over this court. I mean, it might be a slow day in their family court, but in Michigan, if someone was yapping this long, like, the judge would have absolutely told them to can it by now.
The child could be on.
I believe I'm not quite sure if she could be put on my mom's insurance, but I think that she can. I think that it's possible, and there's like vision, dental insurance on there.
That's a good question, because I know, what was it, like under Obama or something, he made it to where you can be under your parents' insurance until you're like 27. But let's find out. I know I can be on my parents' insurance until I'm 27, but can my daughter be on my parents' insurance until I'm 27? That's a good question. Let's find out. I'm curious to know the answer to that one, actually. Nope. I don't know why she thought that, actually. The only way that the child would be able to be put under the parents' insurance would be if the parents took custody over the child, which, oh, that one always grinds my gears. That one pisses me off so much when the freaking grandparents try to take custody over another fit and capable actual parent. Stay in your lane. Unless both parents are wrought with drugs, stay in your lane.
That I know of. I know there's dental.
But at this time, nothing available directly to you. Is that correct?
I believe so. I'm really not sure.
Okay, I pass the witness.
Okay. Any other witnesses, Ms. Kuntz?
No, Your Honor. The state rests.
All right. The state is rested. That means they have no further evidence or testimony. Do you also rest, Ms. Schaefer?
Not necessarily. I really wanted to get through my statement. I definitely have more points in here.
Does it have anything to do with child support or medical support?
It has to do with the safety in the household that she is in.
Okay, so that's something that you would have to address with the other state, probably.
I mean, isn't that interesting too? Like, I definitely don't want to minimize any safety concerns that any parent has for their child, but I find it very interesting that these parents have so many safety concerns for the well-being of their child. They're afraid of their child getting physically altercated, and yet they don't file anything. They don't pursue anything through the courts. They don't file any sort of complaint against the other parent. They're not calling CPS. They're not doing any kind of welfare check until their ass is getting dragged to court to pay child support. And that's suddenly when they want to start making all kinds of accusations and pointing fingers and saying, oh, things are so terrible. Then why didn't you file anything? Why are you waiting until someone else brought you to court to bring up all of these issues? I find that fascinating.
Probably. So child support or medical support?
He did leave me with a $400 bill in my name at the other house that I paid off all by myself. He did not help me with. I did ask help. He refused. But he basically left the bill in my name whenever I moved out. And they were supposed to call and get it changed because that's how we did it the first time. I called and I got it changed my name. So they said that they were going to do it. And then months later, I went to go get my gas turned on at this new house, at my own house.
Okay, so it was a gas bill. So, ma'am, that's your fault. I'm sorry, but that's your fault. Like, he literally cannot do that for you. When it comes to like switching over gas bills and stuff, she's complaining because when she moved out of the place that she was sharing with him, I'm imagining in Oklahoma or wherever it was that they're from, she put the gas bill in her name, and when she moved out, she never took it off. She never canceled it. She never called them to let them know, I don't live here anymore, so I'm not responsible for it. She didn't do her diligence. Okay, so the bill ended up continuing to rack up in her name, it sounds like. And in fact, in some situations, he might not have even been able to pay it without being her. He might not have even had the ability. So that is also partially her fault, and also not something that they're probably going to consider with adjusting child support.
When I got this house, and I could not get it turned on because he had left a $400 bill in my name that I ended up having to pay off on myself. That did not get paid off until just a few months back.
I love the gifts this person is including.
Sorry.
Here's my thing too, is like, what were you prattling on for 14 pages for where you can't like hit the high notes real quick right now? Because listen, I don't know about you guys, but anytime I have ever written a 14-page paper, especially by hand, I know the key points. Like, I know the main issues that I want to get to, especially if it has to do with the court of law. I feel like she must have just been doing diary entries for hours at this point.
I'm just trying to skim through this to see if I did try to dispute the bill. It didn't end up getting disputed how I thought that it would, and they still left the bill in my name. So I did end up having to pay it off by myself. But yeah, I was paying $1,200 a month roughly for my bills, on top of paying for her on my own. And then he still wouldn't accept any of my money that I did ask him several times.
So her argument for why she shouldn't have to pay child support so far is because, one, well, I have my own bills. I'm paying $1,200 a month for myself. Okay, so is every other parent ordered child support. And then she goes, and I shouldn't have to pay child support because when I do have my daughter, I have to pay for her here. Okay, so does every other parent who's ordered child support. Why do you think that you're such a special princess, darling?
If, like, I asked him if he needed anything, if Kamari needed anything, if he needed me to send him money, he would refuse and tell me he didn't need my pity money or the physical altercation was just he was dragging me by my wrist, trying to throw me out of the house physically while he was holding Kamari in his hands. But that was when we were living together.
Okay, well, you can't do that. I will say, for many reasons, you can't go grabbing your old lady or your ex old lady and go dragging them around the house. You can't do that, fellas, okay? No matter how much someone annoys you, no matter how bad you do not want them to be there are right and wrong ways of going about doing things, and I absolutely condemn this man for laying hands on a woman to try and get her out of the house. Like, that's not self-defense. From if we're taking what she's saying at face value, I don't know what else happened. He might have a completely different side of the story, but if it is true that he was grabbing her and dragging her in front of their child, not fucking cool, dude. Not freaking cool, my guy. And it's also illegal in many ways, you know, like if she has any sort of claim to residency, if she has anything in that building, you can't just kick her out. You can't. You would have to formally evict her. If you need her out for safety reasons, you need to call the police to escort her out. You cannot do it yourself. So if we are to believe what she is saying about this physical altercation, then he was in the wrong. But unfortunately, that would be a separate issue that has nothing to do with this, unfortunately. Like, why would you let him have full custody then? Why did you never sue for custody? I don't understand that.
And that was the reason I left.
Okay, so to answer the question really quick, what if he owns the house? That's the tricky part, is they can still have a claim to residency. If they have been living there for an amount of time that an officer may deem long enough, it could be a couple weeks to a couple months, but if what would establish a claim to residency would be like having lived there for a decent amount of time and also having any items within the home that you would need. A bed frame, your clothes, even a backpack could be enough to be a claim to residency. So you would have to file a formal eviction even if you own the house. This is where we get into like the realm of squatters' rights and stuff like that. A lot of people don't realize this, but I try to educate people because especially when it comes to like breakups and divorces, a lot of us are very quick to be like, you know what, get out of the house, get out right now. And it's like, you can't. Like, it's not that easy. You can't just kick people out. Even if you're the only one paying bills, even if your name is the only one on the title, on the deed, doesn't matter. Claim to residency is a thing.
So did you and Mr. Bates have an agreement about where the child would live?
Yes, because I was going to have a full-time job and he was not.
Okay. All right. Close, Ms. Kuntz.
Your Honor, the state, based on the UFSA documents and requests from the state of Oklahoma, is asking that there be a retroactive support judgment going back to January of 2023. I calculated that based on the income that Ms. Schaefer testified she had from Eagle Flat. And came out with a total of $4,098.49 prior to any credit the court may determine appropriate. And then as far as current support, if the court determines a minimum wage presumption might be appropriate under the circumstances, what we would request on that is $56 per month on medical support, $219 per month on child support.
That's really nothing. That's so low.
And we do ask Ms. Schaefer be responsible for the court costs in the matter. And Your Honor, I believe that sums up everything we're asking for today in this, and of course that paternity be established. I apologize, Your Honor.
I'm not sure how you get paternity to be established, Ms. Kuntz.
I apologize, Your Honor. I was just based on Ms. Schaefer's testimony that he was the father is what
But
I was asking.
He's not under our jurisdiction. So, I mean, this should be an establishment of support order since it's against the mom.
Yes,
not
Your
the
Honor,
dad.
I understand.
Okay. All right. A summary of your request, Ms. Schaefer.
I'm sorry.
Can you do a?
She was too busy reading her manifesto to be paying attention to what's going on.
Asking you, do you want to have a statement, a final statement, a close, as Ms. Kuntz also had?
I don't see why I need to pay him radioactive child support respectfully, because I did offer him money. He's brought my daughter down into my town and just not let me see her, not let me know she's here. He's kept her from me. And I have really tried with him. He verbally abuses me, which is why I don't physically text him myself. I text his mother because he cannot be a responsible adult and talk to me like an adult. He's really just put me through it with my daughter, and I believe that I do support my child, and I need to. So it's not about the current child support for me, really. It's about the radioactive child support and the fact that he just flat out refused money.
These they're all being enablers. How come not a single one of them is going, quick correction, it's retroactive? They're just like, let it happen. Just let it happen.
I helped him out, and he refused to help me. Everything that we and him had together, he kept, didn't give me any of it, and I still went and I got everything for my daughter on my own, and I still support her on my own without help. And he's still asking for my help, and I don't mind helping him now, you know, but just everything from January to at least like right after summer was just, I don't believe that I need to pay the radioactive child support due to.
Dude, she didn't just say it once. She didn't just say it twice. This is now like the 5th or 6th time that she has called it radioactive child support. But now it also wasn't lost on me that she's like, yeah, I do everything for my daughter, and like I even help him, and I'm willing to do that. And it's like, first of all, how I would love to know like how many days a month she's actually seeing this child. Again, there is a 5-hour difference between herself and the primary custodial parent being the father. So I'm imagining it's not an every weekend, every other weekend scenario even. I'm imagining it would probably be like maybe once a month. So you're certainly not helping that much with the childcare end of things, but you've also admitted to maybe paying up to $175 over several months. And you're like, I know, I'm willing to help him. Aren't I so kind? Please hold your applause. Oh my God, paparazzi, like acting like you're this like merciful God, but also, which is it that you help him out so much all the time with everything, or that he does not accept your help? Because you have given us so many different stories here, man.
Many countless reasons that I can't even list right now.
Okay. All right. I do find that you do have a duty to support your child because you are the mother of the child and the child is not in your care, in someone else's care. I will set current child support based on minimum wage because you're currently unemployed at this time. That doesn't mean it can't be modified in the future, but you're capable of maintaining a minimum wage job. I will set current child support at $220 per month beginning December 1st, 2023. I will order government health insurance and you to pay cash medical support of $50 per month beginning December 1st, 2023. I will give you some credit over the regarding some bills and some debt that you were left with that actually had to do with support for the child. I am ordering $2,500 in retroactive child support. for the last 11 months and ordering $25 per month payout towards that judgment beginning December 1st, 2023. I'm ordering you to pay court costs 1 year from today's date. Any party can ask for a new hearing within the next 3 days by filing a trial de novo. It must be in writing. It must specify the portion of my ruling in which a new hearing is being requested, and notice must go out to all of the parties. And today, after this hearing, Ms. Coons will prepare an order, submit it to me for signature, and then a copy will go out to you, Ms. Schaefer, and which will detail all the things that I've just ruled upon. Thank you for being here. That concludes the hearing, and you are free to disconnect from the Zoom meeting.
I do have a quick question about what you said to make sure the information is correct that I wrote down. The clerk dispute, you said you could do that in 3 days. What was the first word that you said? I'm sorry.
Trial de novo.
How do you spell that? I'm so sorry.
Trial, TRIAL.
Okay.
DENOVO.
Okay.
And the new trial.
And the $220 and the $50 a month, you said that starts December 1st?
Yes, you'll have the whole month to pay it. As long as you get those done within those 30 days, then you will not be delinquent in your current child support obligations.
And then the $25 each, and that said that that started December 1st. What was the $25 each for?
$25 per month to pay back retroactive child support for the last 11 months.
Okay, that was going to be my next question.
Okay.
I think that's everything.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're free to disconnect.
Wow, that's really nothing. Honestly, she really did get off so easy. Let me react to some of these super chats. Cameron said, is she calling it radioactive for the reactions? I mean, she's certainly not getting any reactions from the judges. Someone else had mentioned in a comment, where was it? Someone said that they work on, here we go. It was Bruce Wayne and his faithful butler said, I sit on a quasi-judicial board and hear all kinds of vocabulary. We keep a straight face as long as we know what they mean. We're there to decide cases, not to lecture from the dais bench. Fair enough. Yeah, it's very important in court to keep a straight face, so I'm sure you learn very quickly to just stay a potted plant no matter what. You know, if only the people actually on trial would do the same thing. Samantha, thank you for the super chat, says, I'm confused. If he's such a deadbeat, how is he the one with primary custody? I'm a little bummed that we never got answers for that. It's very fascinating to me, you know what I mean? Because it sounds almost as though this is the first time anyone has had to go to court. It sounds as though he didn't necessarily fight to have the primary physical custody that he has. It sounds like she just moved to Texas, got out of there, and let him keep the kid, because it doesn't sound as though she's at all familiar with the court system, that any of them are. It sounds like the only reason they went to court is because he is on state assistance, and so the government is coming after her to repay the state assistance. It's the state that wants the child support to go through, not even any of the parents involved. You know what I mean? And I wish that was something people realized too, because there are a lot of people who are like, I don't understand. My baby mama said she wasn't going to put me on child support, but now I'm being forced to go on child support. And it's like, she might not have realized that if she went on state assistance, it would force her to put you on child support. That does happen sometimes, unfortunately. I've even heard of it in cases where the people aren't even divorced. One of my old coworkers, he actually was living separate from his wife and kids for a short period because they were in the middle of selling one house, but they had bought a new house. And so he was living in the new house and fixing it up while they were preparing the old house to be sold. And at one point, the ex-wife went on some kind of state assistance program. And so the state came after him because they're like, well, we see you're living apart, so you have to pay child support. And he's like, we're not even divorced. I am paying child support. She has access to all of my money. You know what I mean? So, like I said, the state does not play. If they think they can get your money, they surely will. Okay? Oh my god, he physically altercated me. Yeah. It's just crazy. If she was like feeling so in danger, why did she leave the kids there? Why didn't she fight to have primary custody? I'm just, I don't understand this situation. She doesn't get much sympathy from me at the end of the day. I think I tried to do my best with calling them both out for the things they did wrong, but I think she's overall wronger. Hello, sir. Would you guys like some pet tax? Because a certain boy is here. He would like some attentions. Would you like to show off what an absolute baby you are? Hugs. Such a good boy. Such one good boys. Yeah. Do you need to go outside? Is that what's going on? Do you need to go outside? He's like, he's giving me the... Alright, I'll be right back. I'm gonna let my dog out. Come on, good boys. You need to go out too, Parker? I also have another pet tax for you. Catilia wanted cuddles, so here she is. One of our most grumpiest of babies. We got some Catilia. Oh, who's your precious girl? Wow, she never lets this happen. I'm amazed. And she's gone. Anyway. Did the plant ever have a name? Oh, are you guys talking about Audrey back there? Yeah, that's Audrey too. The only plant I can keep alive. Okay, I got another one for you. I actually don't know if this woman is a parent or just a divorcee. Oh, yeah. Okay. I think this one is a co-parenting situation. But I have this one queued up for us next. I think someone sent this one to me. But the note that I wrote for this one is... Woman leaves husband after only staying for the money.
It is my 3-year wedding anniversary. This has been hands down the most depressing, miserable, horrible 3 years of my life. I've never hated another person more than I hate the person that I married. I run my ass off and I do everything for everybody in my life. He goes to work. Yeah, his job's hard. Yeah, his hours suck. He works. That is all he does. I am 30 years old and I'm literally begging for the bare minimum every single day. Yeah, I don't work. But the amount of weight I carry, I can tell you why I've stayed. Money. It's that simple. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And yeah, I know I can leave because trust me, I am leaving. But people can't just walk out and leave one day when you have kids and 12 years of life wrapped up together. You can't just walk away with nothing. In sickness and health, better or worse, like, no. You gotta have a plan.
A few moments later.
My husband left the night that I posted that original video.
Already broken.
Welp. It doesn't get much more instant karma than that, quite frankly. I mean, this seems to be like a really common theme that I've noticed, and I feel like these frustrations are enormously perpetuated by social media, because here's the context that we had so far, is she marries a man, makes it very clear to him that she has a dream of becoming a stay-at-home mother. That is what she wants. So he says, great, I'm gonna make that happen for you. I'm gonna go bust my ass and make sure that I can work to provide for all of us, which I don't know why so many women who have never been in that position think that it's so easy. And I'm not like this isn't, I know that some people love to take my words out of context and like assume the most misogynistic thing to it. So let me clarify. Of course, obviously, there are women who have. I am one of them. I have been a mother who, at certain periods of our children's life, I was the sole breadwinner and sole provider for the entire family. It's hard as dude. It is hard as fork. Okay, there is so much that goes into it. And I worked in a job that was highly competitive. Like, you have to meet certain metrics, you have to hit certain numbers, you are constantly interviewing for better positions. I felt like I was always interviewing. I was always in some kind of interview process. I was having to deal with rejection and, beg for raises and have the balls to talk to my boss and be like, I don't actually think this is good enough and I would like to negotiate for a higher salary. Like, that, and the hours can get really crazy. Working any kind of customer facing job can be very crazy. And having done that and also been the primary at home person now at a different point in my life, it's like I would never want to undersell any of those positions. But what I can say is, like, even people like myself working crazy hours and doing all of those things that I've described, sometimes they still cannot afford to do it. Sometimes even doing all the right things, working beyond full time, working multiple jobs, sometimes it's still not enough to be the sole provider and to pay for an entire family. It's an incredibly difficult thing to do. And I don't know what kind of work that he is doing, but the last video that we covered where a woman was basically like, I'm such an angel for not divorcing my husband over similar things, her husband was out there working as an electrical lineman. That's a really hard, physically excruciating job. And to just sum it up as he just works. Really? Like, I'm sorry, but when I was the one who was earning all of the money for my family, yeah, I will admit, I definitely expected TJ to be doing the housework. I did not expect to have to do a whole lot by the time that I got home. No, like, if you're truly home all day long, then when I get home, of course, there's going to be things that I need to do. Of course there are. I don't think that anybody who works should be completely off scot-free from absolutely any domestic labor. But if I'm coming home from an 8, 9, 10 plus hour day and I still have to clean up the whole fucking house, you have done something wrong. You're not doing your part of the bargain at that point. You are not holding up your end of this deal. You are not making it worth it for this family. That might sound harsh, but it's true. And I'm not saying there's no lenience, okay? Like, there's always going to be days where it gets a little ahead of you and, like, I might come home and the house might be a little bit of a mess because as hard as he tried to keep up with it during the day, our kids decided to, like, make a last minute mess right before I walked in the door. Those kinds of things can happen. Sometimes kids will keep you busy all day long and you're like picking up one thing, they're messing up another, and it's like you can't seem to catch up. I get that those days happen sometimes, but if that's what's happening more often than not, if you have to be the sole breadwinner and come home and do all of your own laundry, cook all of your own dinner, like clean up all of the living room and dining room and kitchen as well, then I don't think the other person is really keeping up with their end of the bargain here. Okay. Now, that said, I also can respect that resentment may grow if your spouse is gone all day at work and it feels like you're not getting any help because, I mean, when it comes to domestic labor, they're not there to be able to help you in those hours, just like you're not there to help him with his job that's earning money to keep a roof above your head. You know what I mean? And you're not seeing what each other's doing, and it might piss you off when he comes home and he's like, I just need a minute to decompress, because you're probably like, I just need a minute to decompress. I've been with these kids all day. You know what I mean? But this is where I feel like social media just makes it all so much worse, because I feel like back in the day, before social media, when we could like talk to other married couples face to face who were like living it, we could get like more reasonable advice. You know what I mean? Like we might be like, oh my God, he comes right home from work and he wants to sit on the couch and I'm mad because I just want to sit on the couch. And like you're not getting that same advice from people who care about you, who are like, well, I think that you guys should communicate and maybe, you know, find time that you give each other to decompress. You work something out. Maybe some like half of the week you let him have the first 15 minutes, and then the other half of the week, as soon as he gets home, he has to take the kids right away and give you the first 15 minutes of decompression time, or however you work it out. But there's no more assumption of positive intent anymore with social media. It's always straight to all these buzzwords of like, men only do the bare minimum. And, you know, all these studies coming out that are, it's like being rubbed in our faces of like, you know, studies show that women on average do way more domestic labor than men, and that, you know, women do less chores after divorce living as a single person. And it's like, this gets in our head and we're like, yeah, men ain't shit. Men are terrible. And then we suddenly just would rather not work on it. You know what I mean? It's so much easier to build resentment when we're constantly in these echo chambers of miserable single people eager to keep each other miserable and single alongside with them, because misery loves company. Okay? Miserable single women don't really care to see you living a happy married life. We have the evidence for this, okay? We have the videos of them literally going, you know what pisses me off? Happy couples. In fact, how many times do you see people talking about how, oh, you know how you know that a couple is actually like really down bad and they hate each other? When they post about each other all the time. Only unhappy, miserable couples post each other constantly. They like make up stuff in their head to convince themselves that everyone is as miserable as they are, to the point where like they make it really hard to actually have a happy marriage. Now, you take these very common factors in marriage, very common roadblocks that can lead to resentment, where you two are doing such completely different jobs that you don't understand each other anymore. And then you add, brief pause. We'll hold my thought. You can hear Miles. He barked. He wants to come back. Oh, hello, sir. Miles is so cute. We just got some new hyacinths for Easter, and he always stops to smell them. It's so cute. But, you know, as I was saying, we have these typical, almost tropey resentments that social media really helps to build in a marriage, and then we make it so much worse by getting the unwarranted confidence to blast it all online. And that's going to make things irreparable at that point. It's one thing to feel anger at your spouse. It happens. Okay? It definitely happens. Like it's I think that in every single marriage, probably everybody has that point of like, oh my God, I could kill you. Like, I could kill you right now. Like, no one will piss you off quite like your spouse. Okay? It is known. All right? The people that get closest to you, they figure out the ways to piss you off the most. that can be worked on. You know, you can get past that kind of stuff. Where it becomes like really irreparable is when you take those thoughts of like, I hate him, and you post it to TikTok on the world's biggest social media platform out there, where it becomes permanently memorialized. That's when I don't know how much coming back from that there is gonna be. Okay, let me see some of your comments. Oh, Mac Daddy, thank you so much for the nice comment. Courtney says, right, you can't physically do both roles. Doesn't make it fair. Wrong. Life with kids and working is so hard, alone or married. Social media really worsens things. Everybody is rich online and has no problems. Ain't that the truth, dude? Dylan, if he wanted to, he would. Nail painting emoji. That truly. Peter Edwards says, single dad here. Being a parent isn't that hard. My son is supposed to be with mom every other weekend, but she comes only once a month. Also doesn't pay child support. I fight with her on seeing our child more. Damn, so you're doing it all. You're working, you're primary parent. Damn. Eric says, what happened to just bitching in a group chat? Well, you have to have friends to do that. So that's the problem. And we didn't get to see the rest of her video talking about how her husband left after seeing that. But like, what are the odds that she didn't completely play victim in that scenario? It's like we feel so confident coming online and saying these horrible things like, my husband ain't shit, and the hard work he does do for this family isn't really that great anyway. And then we want to be shocked Pikachu face when he's like, okay, if you hate me and my contributions are not even worth it, then peace. This is where we get into, it's a dangerous dynamic sometimes. This is why I will forever and always only be like dual income, team dual income for myself, because the opposite, the sole breadwinner, sole primary care provider for the children dynamic can get so risky. It's so risky because, especially if you guys hate each other, that's when it's at its riskiest. Because if you are the sole breadwinner and your partner does not value you at all beyond your paycheck, they can still get your paycheck even when they leave you. That's what's terrifying. And if you're just the primary parent and that is your entire value there, then you're going to be screwed if your primary source of income just leaves you. Because that's the thing, is a lot of people think to themselves, well, he's paying my bills now. Or some people think to themselves, you know, as soon as you get married, you just get access to your partner's money. And it's not that easy, okay? If he decides I'm going to start having my deposits sent to a different bank account that I'm not giving you access to, he's perfectly within his rights to do that. And if you don't know what bank he's sending the money to, you don't know where to have a lawyer subpoena the money. And even if you do, it's going to take months and months and months for you to get any sort of judgment where you'll even get the money. You're still going to have to figure it out in the meantime. You know, it's very dangerous on both fronts. And for either party to get so caught up in their own ego and hubris to think like, well, I can just simply leave their dumbass and still get everything that I want. Think again. It's not always that easy. It doesn't always end the way that you think it's going to be. Okay? And Yoshi says it's risky because it forces people to think it's 50-50, but it's not always 50-50. Sometimes it's 80-20 or 90-10. Yeah. That's the tricky part too. I'm a Reindeer says, plus single breadwinners place so much pressure on that identity that when they lose it, they're more likely to get depression. Yeah, it can be tough, especially for men, when like so much of your value is placed on how much you're able to produce monetarily. This, I will say, that's also a big part of divorce trends, is we do see that divorces seem to go up whenever a man loses his job or has to take a big pay cut. So we really have to work on finding ways to value each other outside of those things, for as much as we can value each other completely. Gratitude is the glue that keeps marriages and relationships together. Without it, y'all are fucked. Oh my god, Mac Daddy says, I just want to say that not only have you saved my marriage with the content you make, but you have allowed us to find new ways to communicate and new ways to solve issues between us and in the household. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna do the tistic hand wave on that one. Mission accomplished. That's always what I try to do. That makes me happy. Yay! Another one. Good. That makes me happy. Me and my husband, we have a lot of YouTubers that we watch together that we're like, yeah, watching these people is very helpful. And I always hope to be that for other couples too. Gratiglued. That was one of your most forced puns ever, Punslinger, but I appreciate it. All right. We're going to have a shorter stream today just because I have other stuff to film. But the last time I did that, I gave you guys the nose ring video, which you seemed to like a lot. So hopefully you'll be happy with the content that I end up coming out with after this. But for our final video, I have a short. I have this saved under, what was the caption that I put for this? Oh, I just put Judge Furious in custody case. This caption reads, conniving ex-wife gets served by judge.
When this conniving ex-wife demanded a DNA test after 14 years just to dodge child support, the judge's fury hit a level which was never seen before.
Okay. Ma'am, are you requesting a DNA test?
Yes.
Okay. And you saw the acknowledgement of paternity that you signed 14 years ago?
I saw the copy.
Okay. And how old is your daughter?
She's 14.
Okay. And have you had an opportunity to do a DNA test before now?
I have. Technically, there has been a lot of time to do it. But I think it's best for me to clarify any doubts and concerns. As far as the paternity, signing that statement does not necessarily state that I consciously obviously gave permission to someone to have a child with my body.
Okay. The father...
What? Lady, what? I thought that what she was going to say was, just because I signed the acknowledgement of paternity doesn't mean he's actually the biological father. Which is true. Paternity fraud does happen all the time and is depressingly legal. I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but if a woman signs the birth certificate as a man, therefore forcing paternity onto him, and it is later found out that she forged his signature on the birth certificate and made him responsible for a paternity that is not actually his, nothing will happen to her. There is no consequence legally for paternity fraud. It's completely illegal, actually. So yeah, there are tons of women out here who are tricking men into signing birth certificates, or even just signing birth certificates on behalf of men some of whom they've never even slept with. In the case of Carnell Alexander from Detroit, Michigan, that is exactly what a woman did to him, was signed his name onto the birth certificate, claimed he was the father, and then started having child support accruing on his behalf when he never had even touched her. He was just a man whose name and address she happened to have after she gave birth to a baby and was like, gotta get money from somebody. And even though they eventually stopped his payments, they never released the retroactive child support that he was ordered. He still had to pay, I believe, $11,000 over the course of several years for a child that was never his to a woman that he never slept with. And there are no repercussions for her. She just gets to ride off into the sunset like a dumb bitch. But she actually said, just because I signed the acknowledgement of paternity doesn't mean that I consented to my body being used to make a baby. I mean, it can be true as well that you acknowledge that someone's the father, but maybe it wasn't a consensual agreement that brought the child into the world, which would be horrible, but you would think that if it was indeed Grape or SA that brought the child into the world, you would have brought this up sometime in the last 14 years. You would hope and pray.
Is requesting to be named joint managing conservators with you. Are you in agreement to that?
I would like to be sole managing conservator, not joint.
Who does the child live with?
With him.
Okay. Ma'am, has there been family violence?
Another case of a woman allowing her child to live full-time, or at least primary amount of custodial time with the father, and then only when she is faced with the possibility of having to, God forbid, help pay for the child she made, is when the craziest fucking allegations you've ever heard come up. Only then. I'm about to get livid.
Between you and Mr. Abrego?
Yes.
In the last 2 years?
His aggressive nature still carries on through text messages. Family violence, yes, it's still currently there. Physical, as far as him like hitting me, no. But when I do go pick up my daughter, he does open my door, my car door. So his aggression is spilling through. No.
He doesn't like hit me, but like he opens my door, so it's violence. Isn't a man opening a car door for a woman traditionally a sign of courtesy? But you're going to call that family violence? I'm holding in so much rage right now. Hold on, I missed a couple super chats. Peter Edwards says he's seen this one before. In NYS, once you start paying child support, even if you find out the child isn't yours, too bad, so sad. Yep. Correct. People don't realize signing a birth certificate or an acknowledgement of paternity, that's it. You are the dad now. Even if later on you find out that you're not the dad, that it's a completely different person's kid, unless you get that person to legally adopt the child away from you, you're going to be paying child support until the child is 18 or beyond. Yes, it's a death sentence, essentially. Or a life sentence, I should say. Jackson Glass, thank you for the 5, says, wait, what was the name of the guy? I want to save it for later. I've gotten in arguments about father fraud. What do you mean? Like the guy in this case? Or which guy do you mean, Jackson Glass? I'll try to look out for your comment to see if I can answer that a little bit better for you. They did name him, but it was like, I don't even know if I would be able to spell it, quite frankly. But you can at least look up this account if you want to watch this video, if that helps. Excuse me.
No reports have been made.
I don't understand why you would even try to want DNA testing today, Ms. Lita. That's completely ridiculous. Makes no sense. The only thing is you do not want to pay child support. That's really what it boils down to. You don't want to pay. You want to everything your way and nothing another way.
What I don't understand either, clips to this page. What I don't understand either is how she thinks a child or a paternity test would get her out of paying child support. That's what I don't understand, because we know the kid is hers, right? Like, that's usually not an issue. Typically when a woman has a child, she can see by the way that it's coming out of her own cooter that it's hers. So I don't understand how it would help her get out of child support. Like, the paternity has been established, and even if he's not the dad, you've let him be the custodial parent. So he's not going to lose custody at this point just because he's not the biological dad. They would let him keep having the primary custody. They actually wouldn't take that away. I truly don't know what she's trying to do here. And yeah, okay, yeah, women have questioned their custody before. There's always like the rare situation where there's like a hospital mix-up. Sure. But even in this situation, I don't think that it would stop the child support. I think it would be the same case with a woman, like, well, you've been taking care of the child this long, so it's in the best interest of the child that you remain the mother, typically.
Mr. Abrego's taking care of the child. That doesn't make any sense at all. I don't understand it. I don't know if you think this is comical or what, but this is about your child and what's in your child's best interest. It's not in your child's best interest to do that. It's in your best interest to not have to pay child support. That doesn't make any sense. So I'm denying your request for DNA testing. You should have done that many years ago. The paper says you signed the paper saying that you admitted that Mr. Abrego was the father. There's no reason for that ridiculous argument. It makes no sense. So I don't want you to ever hear that ever again. I hope you're not trying to tell your child that ever at all either, because that's completely ridiculous. Makes no sense. Nobody owes anything up from the past. Mr. Abrego's not asking for any money from you. You're not getting any money from him. That's ridiculous that you would even try to mention that, since he's the one taking care of your child. So nobody owes anybody anything as of today. Beginning December 1st, your child support will be due and owing, and you'll be paying child support, Miss Lita. There's been no family violence within the last 2 years. I don't know if you can count, but 2021 is not within the last 2 years, and so I don't understand why you're even bringing that up. I'm finding that you're basically only wanting that to not pay child support. Your child support is going to be $610 a month.
When this conniving...
Oh my God. And she tried to ask for child support herself as the non-custodial parent. She tried to get it. This whole attempt did nothing but basically out her as a cheater. That's all that does, okay? Because by the point that you are requesting a paternity test after telling a man that a child is his, you're telling everybody that you're just a cheater. That's all that you're telling people, dude. So, like, congrats. Like, you're just trying to hurt feelings at this point, which is clearly working because that dad is going through it, dude. But what's crazy, too, is she still won. She still won, didn't she? Because the judge just ordered no one is to pay anybody. So clearly, this guy was trying to get child support from her, and he's not even going to get the child support. That's absolutely batshit. This lady is not taking care of her kids. She's making false allegations of violence against a man for opening her car door, and she doesn't even have to pay. I could flip a table right now. Philip Reed, so good to see you, says, I know I'm late, but Texas family judges get paid through the money the state takes for child support. There's a lot of questionable bonuses those judges get. I'll say this. The Lean Looney says, just drop in some money to say hi and support you and your channel. What you do is so important. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Oh, what was the 610 then? I guess I did get confused. Maybe, let me see that. Let me hear what he said again.
today. Beginning December 1st, your child support will be due and owing, and you'll be paying child support, Miss Lita. I'm not
okay,
there's been no family violence within the last 2 years.
All right, I might have been
I don't
wrong.
know if you can count, but 2021 is not within the last 2 years, and so I don't understand why you're even bringing that up.
I'm wondering, because didn't he say earlier, like, no one's gonna pay anything? She's acting so incredulous, too. I can be too quick. That's true.
Your child that ever at all either, because that's completely ridiculous. Makes no sense. Nobody owes anything up from the past. Mr. Brego's not asking for any money from you. You're not getting any money from him. That's ridiculous.
Okay. I think that's the part that threw me off. So I think essentially she got out of retroactive child support, is what it sounds like. She's ordered child support going forward, but doesn't owe anything for the time that he's already had the kids, and she hasn't been paying anything. So yeah, she does have to pay child support, but I still feel like she won in the end. A dad would still get treated way harsher if he was trying to do a paternity test after 14 years. No one owes radioactive. Yes, that's right, Peter. That's right. Yeah, the past payments did get me tripping. Oh my gosh, I gotta read some of the comments on this one. Glad the father got a good judge. Truly. Yeah, your judge will make or break your case. Opening her car door? What a monster. She's had 14 years to do a DNA test. Dude, you can even get them at the dollar store. She could do her own at home, quite frankly. And then if she felt confident enough in it, then she could have taken it to the court. If the child isn't his, she should pay that man back for 14 years worth of taking care of a child. That's another great point. But we all know he'll never get a dime back if it's not his kid. Heartbreakingly true. Didn't give consent to have a child with her body. Did I hear that right? Dude, we've heard a lot of crazy shit during this stream. Yeah, I think you can get paternity tests at the dollar store. It might be more of like one of those Dollar Trees, though, where it's like multiple dollars, not just $1. Judge saw right through that bullshit. That poor father looks like he's been through the ringer with this conniving woman. And what's really heartbreaking, though, is that, like, I fear the child is not his biologically. I just fear that she's kept this in her back pocket because she never saw it working out in her favor, but now she's using it as her, like, final Hail Mary to, like, get something, because this whole time she was probably one of those women who just thought in the back of her head, like, well, if I ever break up with a man, I obviously get paid child support. That's just the way it goes, is I get paid no matter what. And now when she's in the position of like, actually, that's not the way it works. If you're not doing most of the parenting, you don't get paid. Now she's like, well, I guess now's a good time to bring up that I've been lying to you for the greater part of like almost a decade and a half about you actually being the father. I guess I'll just throw this out right now. Like, I do fear that she would not have brought that up if it weren't true. And so while I agree with the judge, like, I hope you're not telling your kid that that's not your real father, because that's going to do a lot of damage. He should probably still do a paternity test himself. It's probably going to be pretty heartbreaking, and it's not going to ultimately change anything. You know, like, at this point, that's your kid. That's actually what happened to my cousin's current husband. He was with a woman. She fell pregnant. She had a child. He assumed the child was his, but quickly started adding things up and found out the child was not biologically his, but was still like, look, I've bonded with the kid at this point. I've already signed the stuff that makes me a father. I'm keeping the kid. This is my kid. And then mom walked out. Mom left the picture. And he continued to raise my, I was going to say nephew, but that's not it. My now second cousin for a while by himself until he met my cousin, and then my cousin stepped in and became mom, basically, even though she's stepmom. Now two people who aren't even his biological parents did way more for him than his biological mother did, you know? Sometimes that happens, and I really respect my cousin and her husband for doing that, but you shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to do that if you don't want to, you know what I mean? Yeah, she just left. She just up and left and was like, oh, well, I mean, if you're cool with raising the kid, deuces. Takes the work off my load here. Yeah, he's basically adopted. It is a beautiful thing, and he's grown into such an awesome young man. I'm very proud of everybody involved, quite frankly. But yeah, I mean, the kid and the dad do still deserve to know. If I was that dad, even if the judge didn't mandate a paternity test, I would still go out and get one, just because, you know, a kid deserves to know. Kids are always going to be curious about where they come from. They deserve to know. All right, anyway, on that note, I'm super hungry and I got some other stuff to film. So we're gonna wrap this live up here with some of our stories. Eventually I'll be editing this stuff down into shorter versions. I'm gonna be coming out with another YouTube video later today for you guys to watch, probably around 2, actually, probably in no time. Maybe I'll drop it early, right after the stream. Maybe I'll do that. Tell me if you guys want me to do that. Oh, Shadow God says, I'm a member now. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. You got some exclusive content. Go back through. You'll probably have to go to the community tab to get to the unlisted videos, but you can watch the Dadvocate origin story. You can watch me reacting to Queer Kiwi's hate video about me. That's a pretty funny, silly watch that I haven't even started editing yet, so enjoy your exclusive access. But any final words? As always, I will say, if you haven't liked the stream, slap it. Slap that like button right now. And if there's anything you really, really want me to react to, send all content submissions or anything you want to send me to lauren@dadvocate.net. That's the best way to reach me. lauren@dadvocate.net. I actually do read all of my emails. That's the best way to reach me. Every other way, who knows if I'll ever see it, quite frankly. We do have another stream this Thursday at 11 a.m. as well, so send anything you want me to react to for that one. I might end up doing a bonus stream on Friday. I might. So sorry for the yawn. I apologize. Eat and stream, no excuses, says Peter. Oh man, I don't know. I can't subject people to that. I personally have, I think it's called misophobia, which is like the hatred of chewing noises, like especially into a microphone. I wouldn't do that to you guys. I hate it when streamers eat while streaming. Like, I used to watch Brittany Venti, like, no major hate to Brittany Venti, but like, she eats way too much while streaming, and she also has a condition where she burps a lot, so I can't listen to her stream. I'm so sorry. I hate to like shit talk Brittany Venti like this, but I could not watch her streaming. Zomagod says, co-parents from hell, no partner shaming, no cheating, no DV, no piss drinking, no dog tongue kissing, no heinous book talk, and no blue toilet water. Honestly, a bit refreshing. Will rewatch later. You guys were so upset with me for covering book jail. I was upset with myself, though, to be honest. Not the hatred of miso soup. Isn't Brittany Venti a white nationalist or something? You know, I remembered there was another reason I stopped watching her too. She's had some pretty wildly conservative takes, I will say. There have been some things that Brittany Venti has done that made me go. I also think she made a big hit piece on Roma Army, if I remember correctly. Cameron says, slap the like button, but don't open a door. That's violent. Yeah, and you also have to sign a contract, a consent contract with every single woman you touch, apparently. Or else that might be held against you 14 years later. Covenant, don't even ask about book jail. Apparently, that was the true violence that I inflicted upon my audience. All right. Thank you, Waifua, for reminding me to go eat. It is about that time. I'm a hungry girl. But all right. Thank you guys so much for joining me in this fun co-parenting stream. Keep the submissions coming. Keep the likes on this live stream coming. Please continue to comment after the fact, and I'll go through and read those. And I will see you guys on Thursday. Bye.